What's up? Welcome back. This is the Rediscover the World podcast. Thanks for joining us for another episode. I appreciate you guys. And today's episode is brought to you by you, because without you, the show wouldn't be possible. No sponsors over here. Don't get worried. Don't get too scared. But today's episode, we have a very cool guest. We have a fellow motivator. We have Miss Natsune. Okay, she is a author. She's a business owner, a TV host. She's got a lot going on, and we're going to talk about something really cool that she has coming up in just a few days. So sit back, relax, and let's get it started. Boom.
This is the real Discover the Real podcast. Thank you for joining.
We have here on the podcast Natsune. Okay, she's the author of the game of Self-Domination. She is the host of LifeUpEducationTV. Has a business which is the Foreign Connect, which she helps Japanese business owners connect with the American market. So welcome to the podcast, Natsune.
Hi, thank you very much for having me, John.
So like I said, you got a lot of things going on. You've been on a crazy run right now. I'm seeing your name everywhere. So what did I leave out? Did I leave out anything before we get started?
No, those are the two main things I'm doing right now. My main
Awesome.
focuses, yeah.
Cool. If you guys aren't aware, Natsune is in Tokyo, Japan right now.
Yay. Have you came here before? Have you visited?
No, I hear nothing but good things. I would love to visit.
Nice, yeah. I think you'll like it.
So right now it is 11 o'clock in the morning where she is at right now. So unfortunately, she's got me up late at night interviewing her on this podcast, but I'm excited to be here. I'm super excited to be here. So I'll let it slide just this time.
Thank you.
So you got your book coming out on the 27th of August, correct?
Yep.
So let's talk about that just a little bit before we get into some other topics. So if you wouldn't mind letting the listeners know a little bit about your book.
Yeah, sure. So the book is called The Game of Self-Domination, and the book talks about how to create mental transformation in 3 different phases. The first phase, I talk about how to create momentum and decisiveness, also the commitment in life. And in order for one to create a commitment, you need both inspiration and desperation. Inspiration in a sense that you believe in whatever you're dreaming of right now is possible to happen, and desperation in a sense that you're so sick of like where you are right now. You're so disappointed about your life situation, right? So I'm gonna trigger I guess I'm gonna give you different talk points to kind of trigger your desperation and also the inspiration to put you in a state of momentumness. And then transitioning to the second phase, I now talk about how to be resilient in life, how to have a perseverance once you decide to raise momentum, right? Like momentum lasts only for a moment, but then you need to be persistent about your decision. And that's really all the good thing happen, right? So during this process, basically, I talk about things like the importance of self-awareness, because you can't pretend to want to be something that you don't necessarily want to be, but just because your society is telling you to be certain way, like for example, entrepreneurship is a great example. Like there's a lot of romance created around entrepreneurship, and I think by all means, like people should try it if this is something that people want to try. But like you can't pretend to want to be someone that you're not, and really, like without no judgment, right? Like you should go for what you really want to be, right? So given the bad thing and good thing, like both included, what do you really want? So that's like the kind of level of deepness we go when we talk about self-awareness. So I give you different sets of questions that you can go through to really discover who you are, to really master yourself. And then also, I guess within the same phase, I also talk about why are we really here, right? Like philosophical questions about life, to really create a different narration around failure, different narration around why we are here. So to the third phase, I start talking about redefining the definition of success and um, failure, because oftentimes what we do is, there's a lot of talk around redefining failure, and which is absolutely mandatory. Like I'm the biggest advocate on that. But at the same time, I think we lack in the conversation around redefining success even. So I'm going to create different, like a completely different narrative about what are we really here for? Like a more like an authentic way of looking at life. Why are we here? And what is happiness versus what is success?
Now that was a lot. It was a lot of good things there. You also are hitting on a lot of good strengths right there. You talked about success, you talked about entrepreneurship, and you also talked about getting out of that rat race, getting up and just being sick and tired of doing the everyday getting up, going to work, getting some sleep just to do it all over again. And I love all those topics. Those are a lot of great topics. I love to touch on them because unfortunately a lot of us are stuck in that rat race and we may not know it. And there's also a lot of other um, resources out there touching on a lot of the same topics. So
Mhm.
what would you say makes your book, The Game of Self-Domination, different than the rest?
I would say it's different because it's truly the game of self-domination. I don't tell you what's good for you. I tell you, I guess I will cultivate your own growth. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to tell you what works. I'm not here to tell you like what is the truth. The truth is up to you. I'm not going to try to define that for you. It's your job to do that. And that this is why my book's name is The Game of Self-Domination, because you know, even if I give you something, even if I present something as a truth, it wouldn't be true if you don't look at it as truth, right?
Mhm.
So any talk, like any mental transformation for that matter, like happens within you. Like that cannot be created from outside. Like the motivation always has to come from within you, right? So I think a lot of, I guess, in terms of the point of differentiation, when we talk about that, I think a lot of materials out there would kind of, you know, go for the quick and, you know, out of, you know, some secret or whatever, right? Like a quick something that change your life forever approach, right? I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about redefining success and failure. But you know, my method or my book wouldn't give you like a quick result. My book wouldn't be, you know, once and for all solution for you, right? Like it's
Mhm.
like I don't believe in I don't believe in like a tools. I don't believe in like a secret algorithm. Like I don't believe in that. I believe in hard work. I believe in creating work ethic. I believe in self-awareness. I believe in things that solves problem at the core level, not like a quick, you know what I mean? Like a
Mhm.
quick, yeah. So that's the major difference, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, nothing easy. I mean, nothing that is worthwhile comes easy. And
Yeah.
you talked about the being successful and the
Mm-hmm.
goal to be successful. That also is a very subjective term. So, what does that mean to you, being successful?
It's a subjective, and I think being successful to me is that one of the thing I think common for everyone, about success, right? Like there's a difference in art and science, and art part of success is very subjective, but the science part of subjective, I think that applies to everyone, is that we need to know ourselves. We need to know what we want, right? Like we need to know what we desire, like, and then these things are very different, but one thing that's common is we really need to identify who we are and what we want in life. So that's one part of success, well, that builds up success.
Mhm.
And for me, the definition of success is success can never be achieved. Success is always in the future. So, like, for me, the definition of success is something that gets you up in the bed, gets you up from the bed, like something that exists in the future, something that inspires you to wake you up, something that like makes you want to work for it, right? Like it's the inspiration you're living for. Like, for example, you wouldn't say, I achieved this in the past and I'm so motivated by it. You don't say that. I mean, you already achieved it. So success can never be achieved. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely believe wholeheartedly in what you just said. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a firm believer in, what, like what you said, what gets you out of bed, and the way that I word that is what keeps you up at night. We all have that thing that we love to do, whether it's,
Mm-hmm.
of course we have the 9 to 5 jobs, but if you are a big fan of drawing comics or, making fashion or designing clothes, that keeps you up at night. That's something that you love to do once you get home after your 9 to 5. And
Mm-hmm.
living and breathing and doing that would only deem you to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I absolutely definitely agree. So that was about your book. So which seems awesome, by the way, and I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out on the 27th when that does
Mm-hmm.
come out. And yeah, I checked it out. It's definitely available for pre-order. I saw it on Amazon. I saw it on your
Mm-hmm.
website,
Yep.
and it looks amazing. I'm excited about that.
Thank you. Do you like the design?
It looks very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really happy to hear that.
So yeah, definitely shout out to your designer. Did you do that yourself or
No. I hired a designer. Um, I think she's a Brazilian designer. I think she's from Brazil or something. But I
really?
put her name actually on the inside of the book.
Yeah, she did a great job. Looks very
Yeah.
nice. All right, so let's move on a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about Natsune herself. So you actually spent some time in the USA. You got your degree here. Is that right?
I did. Mm-hmm. Yep, I did. Yeah, I was born and raised in Japan, and the first time I moved to the United States was when I finished my high school, so which was 18 years old, something like that. And then I was there for a while actually.
Nice. So you spent some time in Silicon Valley, Seattle. Did you were you able to visit anywhere else, or was that just the main spots
Yeah,
right
no,
there?
I also lived in Miami,
Okay,
Florida. Hmm.
nice, very
Yeah,
nice.
it's a big change.
I actually spent some time in Seattle. What did you think about that?
Oh, Seattle? It's an incredible place. I love the atmosphere. Um, people are very smart, lots of tech entrepreneurship going on. And at the time I was there, it was like becoming the second Silicon Valley. Like actually it was like becoming more like a Silicon Valley because, it's much cheaper. There's a very good infrastructure for tech businesses. Facebook was there, Microsoft's, like Amazon, like all the headquarters were there. I think Facebook moved headquarters to Seattle around the time I was there, I think. Yeah.
Really?
But anyway,
Nice.
so yeah, it was very, I mean, because I'm very inspired by the possibility of humanity, which is the biggest theme I talk about with my show, the Life Up Education TV, and part of that, I have a very huge interest in technology, like how that advance the possibility of humanity.
Hmm.
So basically how that interacts with humanity. And I also have economics and business background, so that's why like technology has been always like one of the wow thing that I've been always paying attention for. So that's why, like when you ask me about Seattle, like that was the first thing that comes up in my mind.
Because you spent some time in the tech industry, no?
Yeah, I did. Hmm.
I'm a little jealous.
What industry are you in?
Well, I'm not in the tech industry,
Mm,
but I love tech. I'm a tech nerd, you know.
nice.
Not too hardcore, but I definitely enjoy it, you know. Wouldn't mind going back to Seattle, especially right now during the summer. It is perfect.
Oh yeah, for sure. Winter, it's kind of cold.
Yeah, it's a little
and also
icky.
rainy.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So you also talked about your TV show, the Life Up Education TV, and you're
Mhm.
the host of that. And
Yep.
on that show, you interview successful people. You talk about their story
Yeah.
and you know how they got there.
It's a mix of thing too, though. I talk about, like, I mean, once again, my biggest thing is um, that advancement of humanity, like the possibility of humanity. How can we optimize our capability as a humanity? Because I'm very macro thinker, and I'm also a really big believer of the power of mind when it comes to unlocking human potential. So this is why I like to interview about their life stories, because that's like the best thing that individual person can associate with the guest and then really get inspiration out of it, right? But I like to talk about processes as well. Like sometimes I would have a guest that is very like a tech driven, like serial hardcore entrepreneur. Then I would talk about things like entrepreneurship, but also like technology, like the impact of technology in people or impact of technology in the advancement of humanity. Sometimes I would have a guest that is creative, and if that's the case, I would ask them about like what is the role of creativity in terms of advancing humanity. um, how can we apply the creative process in our daily life to maximize our performance level, like stuff like that. So I do talk about processes sometimes too. I'm very fascinated by really various things, like I'm actually also planning to have like some neurologist or somebody who can talk about brain. Maybe I can interview them about how can we kind of create, I guess, an optimal state with our mind and physiologically and everything. So I guess I have a lot of guests. I guess I have a guest from all walks of life, and then once again I talk about their personal life, but also I talk about processes in the context of advancing humanity.
I believe that there's something to be said about someone who talks about and who's a big advocate for self development and creating the life that is for you, which is something that you do. I know personally why I'm a big fan and advocate for that. So what does
Mhm.
that do? What does that do for you? How does that help fulfill you? Why does that make you happy?
It makes me happy because ultimately I think it comes back to the way I view life, and I guess the conclusion toward my third phase, the final chapter in my book. Also, I talk about like what is happiness, what is success, why are we here for, right? And for me, like one of the biggest reason I am here for, or I guess what I want to create or leave behind in life is I just simply want to make people feel inspired, feel um ambition. I want to make them ambitious like me. And I mean, I know that I'm not solution for everyone, right? Like I don't expect to be solution for everyone, but as long as I'm here, I want to create a message that's positive to people, positive to myself, but positive to people. I want to make people laugh. I want to make people feel significant. I want to make people feel like, yeah, important, loved. These are the messages that I think gets not loud enough compared to the negativity, because negativity has such a powerful impact. One negative comment, like think about it. If you see like a 10 positive comments versus one negative comments, like which one do you think it's stucks with you? The negative one. So I feel like there's not much, like enough voices in the internet that's going to push for optimistic positivity, love, like caring, and no judgmental voices that's going to encourage people to live courageously, like all the positive messages. And to me it really fulfills me, because once again, one of my main reason or the purpose I'm creating is I want to make people laugh. I want to make people feel significant. I want to inspire people. I want to encourage people to live the best life possible on their own term, for their own term.
I talked with I had a guest on here a few episodes ago. He was a motivational speaker, and he worded it that we get up every day, we brush our teeth every day, we have our routine, and we also need some motivation every day. So yeah, I 100% agree with everything you just said, that we need those words of affirmation, that encouragement, and that person that's just cheering us on. You know what I mean? We even if we need to find that within ourselves so we can be our own motivation, I think that is
Mm-hmm.
definitely needed. So I know personally, I'm a big fan of a lot of the things that you just mentioned, and
Mm-hmm.
finding that self-love and that encouragement in self, and finding yourself and being more whole as, yourself. And personally, I know that growing up, I didn't feel a lot of that. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that I know firsthand how much that is needed in someone's life. So as I got
Mm-hmm.
older, as I, traveled on my journey a little bit more, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be that for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
That's
makes me
beautiful.
happy. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Just
Yeah.
talking about that self-love, and maybe I can be that motivation for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. That's very beautiful. Yeah.
All right. So we talked about the show, we talked about the book, and you also have a business. You have the Foreign Connect,
Yep.
and that's
Mm-hmm.
when you help Japanese businesses connect with the American market. Why is that important to you, other than, the obvious? And talk a little bit about that business.
Yeah. So Foreign Connects is what I do with Foreign Connect is three pillars. Basically, my whole motivation, I guess, the underlying motivation is I really want to help Japanese economy to stay strong, given a lot of economic challenges we're going to face in next 5-10 years. One of which being the shrinking population. So that means that we're not going to have enough laborers to produce the amount that we're producing right now. That's going to make us go down in the GDP. That's going to make us weaker in the ranking of the power compared to other countries. And other countries are booming, like India, China, like all these countries are having enough child, like they're like literally on the rise. So I have I guess not empathy. How do you say, like, I have a responsibility kind of feeling toward my mother country, because this is the country that grew me at the end of the day.
For sure.
So I want to really help them to stay strong in the economy. And this is why I wanted to create some sort of business that's going to allow me to help the economy a little bit, And two things I do. I help Japanese companies to enter American market by starting a startup from like ground up, whether that means like they need a foreign investor to invest, or they need like accelerator to enter, they need a mentorship, they need a strategic partnership, whatever it is, I help them to set it up. The second thing I do is I help them to sell abroad. Like I help them to sell in a foreign country without their business presence in the local country, but from here, from Japan, from Japan. And then the third thing I do is digital transformation, because digital transformation will be very key factor in terms of surviving through the next generation, next dynamic of business. Um, so a climate of business, I would say. And then I think Japan, I think it lacks in speed sometimes, especially if you're a corporation. And I mean, this is true for any national companies for that matter, but Japan, especially on top of, large organization, we as a nation has this tendency of like, you know, lacking speed, right? Like we're village culture. So we're not very fast to adapt to the changes. So that's why I want to help companies in that notion. And I also talk about, in my book, I also talk about Ikigai, which is a philosophical concept of finding a life purpose. And it's called Ikigai in Japanese. So it's a Japanese philosophical concept. But basically there I talk about different circles that you should look for in order to get to the Ikigai place at the center. But my intake of that is slightly different. Like it talks about um, where is your mission, where is your passion, like what are you good at, what can you get paid for. Like these are the circle that makes up for Ikigai in the original concept. But my concept, like if you look at business or in investment, they they create diversification, right? I mean, that's just how it works. So you can't just be on one dimensional thing. Like if you want to run business, you gotta know what your passion is, like where to create innovation. At the same time, you need to care about the money tomorrow, like in order for you to survive. So for me, I kind of have that, more logical strategy implied in that sense. I keep Foreign Connect more with um, the direction of like, let's create a more sustainable model like business. At the same time, I want to do the Life Up Education TV where because of Foreign Connect, I don't have to necessarily worry 24/7 about my sustainability, but rather I much rather create a meaningful message with Life Up Education TV.
So it seems like you're looking out for who looked out for you when you were coming up, looking out for the home team. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get out of here,
Yeah.
really quick before I go to this next topic, did we miss out on anything as far as the businesses? We talked about the book. Did we leave out anything?
No, I think you asked me pretty good questions. I mean, unless you have something else to ask me, like,
Oh,
yeah.
yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. All right. So before I let you go, Natsune, I got
Yeah.
a couple questions that I would like to ask. Nothing too
Let's go.
personal, nothing too crazy. So, first question: what is the first thing that comes to mind that is your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure?
Yes.
Wow. um Guilty pleasure. Wow. Where did that come from? Like what? Let's see. I don't
Just,
know.
just a fun question. I'll
Just
tell you,
one question. Let's see.
I'll tell you mine while you're thinking. So my guilty
Okay.
pleasure every night is 2 bowls of cereal. I have to have it every night,
Every night?
every single night.
Wow. Let's see. I would say bread
Bread.
sometimes, once in a while. Yeah. I don't eat bread. Um I try not to eat too much carbs because it makes me slow, it feels like to me. But bread, yeah, I love bread.
Yes, it sucks that the things that are the tastiest are
Uh-huh.
what's worst for us. I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
All right. So let's move on. Next question that I have, other than the book releasing on the 27th, what is the next thing that you are looking forward to?
um I don't necessarily have answer for that right now. I'm just like fully dedicated to building the two things that I mentioned, like the platforms I mentioned. I feel like I just haven't um, fully dominated in that domains neither yet. So, I'm in for the long term. Like I'm not in for the quick game.
That is a perfect answer.
Yeah.
You are in full tunnel vision about the game of self-domination. Perfect answer.
Thank you.
All right. So let's see. Next question.
Hmm.
What is the most recent lesson that you learned in life?
Uh, I wouldn't say decent, but one of the thing I guess that had an impact in me is that you can't predicate your worth, I guess perceived self-worth in people's opinion by all means. Like that's not what you want to live your life for. Like, for example, social media, right? Like amount of followers and likes and blah 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 blah. Like especially this is common to young people, even older people, but young people, like they judge people based on the followers or the likes, amount of whatever, right? Like it really shouldn't predicate one really shouldn't predicate their perceived self-worth on that, because there's always going to be someone new, someone more interesting, someone more beautiful, someone more sexy, someone more handsome, someone more whatever, right? And like people have different opinion anyways. Like people don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? And then it makes you like entitled. Like in reality, like, you know, you're really no one. But I mean, rather you should appreciate like whatever the comment, like it's better than nothing. You know what I mean? Like people give you a compliment, people give you like a nasty comment, whatever it is, like it's happening for you. Like this is amazing. Like you're given this opportunity to be presented in front of other people. And I feel like a lot of people take that granted. And also I think because we're living for the likes, we're living for the compliments on the comments, whatever, like that gives us dopamine. Like it really crashes people's like actual perceived self-worth when they get like a slight negative comments and all that, you know what I mean? But in reality, it has nothing to do with you, like you're like a true value, you know?
Oh yeah. Social media is one of the best and worst things to ever happen to this generation.
Like honestly, I think like tools magnifies who we are. I don't think nothing really changes our nature. Like we just act according to who we are, but depending on the tools that we are given, we basically create this vehicle of exaggerating who we are, if that makes sense. So I think people shouldn't rely too much on the tools, but rather they should always focus on what's really authentically important, which is to work on yourself, to, you know, have the confidence, like know your self-worth. Like these are things that regardless of social media, regardless of anything that we have today, like you gotta get that right.
I hope everybody listening is taking and practicing this. What Natsune just said, that is very. I'm at a loss of words right now. That was perfect. I feel
Good.
I feel the exact same way about
Happy.
self-worth and just the mirage of social media and just everything out there. And people think that's real life.
Yeah.
They get so caught up in it, and that one dislike or that one negative comment would just ruin their day completely. And
No,
yeah,
I understand it's hard, but you know, at the end of the day, I think it's also like decisiveness, right? Like you got to know what's really important, which is not to live for someone else's life, neither. Like you got to live for you.
absolutely, for sure. All right, Natsune, I think I'm gonna end the questions there. And one more time before we get out of here, is there anything else that you would like to say to the people? Are there any questions that you are expecting for me to ask that I did not ask that you would like to answer? Anything
Um,
left on the table?
no, I just want to thank you for the opportunity that you invited me to your show.
Absolutely.
And if I may, you can find me on all the social media. So my main thing is LifeUpEducationTV.com. You can find all my social media links there, but under under Life Up Education TV, you can also find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Instagram, I said that, Facebook, LinkedIn.
So pretty much everywhere.
Yeah,
Seems like
pretty
it.
much everywhere. And the book also, you can purchase it through my website, LifeUpEducationTV.com.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely go ahead and check that book out. That is The Game of Self-Domination by Natsune Oki. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are also looking forward to it. And thanks for coming out to the show, Natsune. I really appreciate you coming out to the Rediscover the World podcast. And I will talk to you next time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Listen, people, we are here to inspire and to motivate. I hope you guys took some value from today's episode. And like we said throughout the episode, August 27th, this Thursday, her book, The Game of Self-Domination, will be available. And of course, I will have the links for you to check out Natsune, check out the book in the show notes. And I'll see you next episode. Peace.